Welcome, everybody, for Simulation Talk 352. Pretty late night one for sure. Surprise one as well. And it's going to be a short one because of the hour. But we show up. What up, Guru? How are you, brother? Maverick Star. Good to see you. Let's start our Discord. What up, Gak? How you doing? I have to say that I really enjoy your little intro. I chill harder than you party. I'm not outgoing. If you're going out, I'm not going. That's great. Welcome, everybody. Let's see what we got here. Beautiful stuff. And we're going to jump right into the stage on Discord. It is above. Yeah. There we go. Stage is officially open. How do I skip this part? I don't. Okay. Give me the checkpoint thingy. All right. Cool. Boom. Claim. What am I doing? Sometimes Discord is very weird. Okay. Great. I don't know what just happened. Okay. It gave me a new weird plant. Anyways, I have no idea what just happened. And yet it happened. So there we go. That's Discord for you. That's my experience of Discord. Now I have a That's amazing. How are you, Guru? Good to see you, brother. The Hella Budbul. Welcome, CJ. Welcome, Simulation Talk 352. We're really getting up there. It's almost 365, which would mark the official full year worth of streaming. It was supposed to be every day, but it was definitely not every day. Maverick Stars in the house. Welcome everybody who is slowly showing up. I mean, yeah, it's pretty late today for sure. How was your guys' weekend? I was traveling. It was nice. Really good weather. Awesome. Okay, so let's see what we can dive into in the short period that we're going to be going on today. Ghost is in the house. How are you, brother? Going to invite you if you want to come and chat. Ghost released an exciting paper purporting to solve the hard problem of consciousness. It can be fun to talk about. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So you released that paper, at least you sent me the outline, and you said that you won't be able to release the full paper for a while because of what again?
Just editing it.
Oh, got it.
Trying to make sure it's it meets the because I'm submitting it to a peer reviewed journal basically.
Got it. And is it not? Why can't at least the final editorial stuff be done by ChatGPT?
That's exactly what I thought, but like anything that ChatGPT generates, like even just tweaking sentences or presenting an idea differently, that gets flagged as
ChatGPT made. Well, can't you tell ChatGPT, hey, change nothing about my structure? I have a chat like that. It's called fix typos. So its only job is to fix typos. And if there are no typos, it just says there are no typos. That's its only job. And if it does anything else, it'll no, only fix typos. And or if there's like serious grammatical errors, but do not change anything about the structure of my sentences. Do not change anything about my style of conversation. Do not change anything about any idea I'm presenting, no matter how backwards it looks to you, can't you create a chat like that? Even then, it would be flagging it.
Okay, yeah. See, that I can do. I'm actually like a pretty good editor myself. So like I'm able to make sure there's no typos, grammar is perfect and everything.
Amazing.
The issue is um there's like a what do I call it? Basically like they're gonna run through their own, checks. Like they have AI checks. They're gonna check for like plagiarism and stuff like that. Like every idea that I'm presenting, if it's not my own, or if like the wording is not my own original wording,
Yeah.
and if I'm not like attributing it to a source, it can be flagged as like, it's just like suspect kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything has to be in peer review. Basically, everything has to check out, and like adding sources and the way you present your ideas is like the most important thing. Like you're gonna basically kind of like get a score of how well put together your paper is, depending on like how you presented the ideas. Like you need a certain amount of that paper to be to basically come across as your own words, like original stuff, and not like you're citing a bunch of sources and it's not clear where some information is coming from, that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I understand now. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of work. And you said the total thing is what, like 40 pages plus?
Yeah.
You should make it exactly 42 pages. That's yeah. I mean, that would be, and the some hidden, Easter eggs in there.
That'd be kind of fun.
Um. Well, I'm excited when it's gonna be. When do you think it's gonna be ready? Like when you said a while, you mean like months?
No, like a few weeks.
Okay.
My goal right now is to have it done by the end of the month.
Okay. Well,
Like January 1st, I want it to be finished.
I'm very excited to read it. Very good, kind of idea. I really want to see how you're gonna be tying specifics. But in the end of the day, it is a philosophy paper and not a science paper. So there's definitely going to be a lot more leeway with that. But still, very interesting way of outlining it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I also like want to sort of like set the bar high for this, because like one of the premises of this paper is that consciousness is an interdisciplinary subject. Like it's not going to be solved by any one discipline on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And so because it's going to take a few different disciplines coming together, in especially scientific ones, like I want to really like I want to make it as rigorous as possible.
Of course. Well, I mean, it has to be like it has to be super sound. There's no question about that. Yeah. No. So the one thing maybe we can start probing into just the generalities of the idea and see if we can, just have a little chat about that. One of the things that essentially you're postulating a substrate that is more fundamental than what we call consciousness and than what we call matter, and it is essentially it is the thing that is both of those things depending on the thing. So like
not exactly.
Okay.
Like it's not like both of those things so much as it sort of generates them.
Oh, so it's not that it's both of them. Got it. So it generates them. It's not like it is both of them depending on how you're looking at it. It's more like it's generating it by some mechanism.
Yeah, like to use a very weak kind of analogy here, it's like it has the code for them in its source code. So
and you're addressing
when it does the computation, they emerge.
And you address the specifics of how it runs that code and what is in it that is processing and all that stuff?
Yeah, but I think it's probably debatable, like to what degree, like how precise I am with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge, right? If we can like replicate that, I mean, that's basically the holy grail. Also, welcome everybody who are joining. Better be Terry, how are you, brother? Welcome. Yeah, that would be, but still, because you're going to have to justify the postulation of that substrate versus anything else in some form. And one of them can be, well, it explains more than all the other models on offer. That would be a valid ground to stand on if it does that. Another way is maybe there's like even indirect evidence of something like this. And you do, I see, draw from Hoffman's work, right? And Deutsch's work. So you're standing definitely on some strong shoulders there. But yeah, I'm excited to see how you're actually achieving it. I mean, just I commend you for even putting it out there in such a way. How long have you been working on this?
I've been working on this for, I'd say, more than 10 years. Maybe 12 or
Whoa.
13.
Whoa. Okay. This is some serious stuff, man.
Yeah. And like over that time, I've always had like just little bits, little iterations here and there that, like, the reason I've been working on it for so long is because I've just had the slightest of iterations that, like, there's a way it comes together, but like I just don't know. And it becomes like something I obsess over for years. Keep studying like anything that I find that is even remotely related to consciousness. I look at it, I'm like, could this be it?
Yeah.
So it's like happened over time, just like that, where now it just seems like it's coming together, but it's really like just the end result of a lot of research and just a lot of time poured into it.
Amazing. Well, again, excited to read it. Anybody who's joining the chat, I encourage, just reminding you that I'm encouraging more of a human perspective kinds of conversations. So any question you might have about the laser, about the code, about science, about whatever, try and frame it in terms of what it's like to be you. So why do you specifically care? Also, you can talk in generals, like what is it like to be you in general, not even about the question. Is it good? Is it bad? Why is it so? Maybe we can talk about the relationships between people and what it feels like to have certain kinds of situation arise. I think those are important topics, and then we'll flow from there. What and remind me, please, aside from studying philosophy, your aim is to be a full-time philosopher, or I think I remember something else. There was maybe cognitive science or something, or maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah, that would be cognitive neuroscience.
Okay, so there, yeah.
Basically, looking at my thesis right now, cognitive neuroscience could be a possible, like area where I'm able to like generate some testable ideas from the whole model around consciousness being, recursive self-modeling.
Recursive self-modeling, yes, that's the which again, that alone, I don't know if it's novel, right? So like the recursive part is not novel, but there's like the attention to attention is just, it's an idea that has been floating around for a long time, but you're putting it into some kind of a more modern box where a lot of the ideas that we already have kind of solidified into some coherent structure, you're utilizing them to bring something new into the picture, basically.
Yeah, and that's pretty much like the main thing with my theory is not that like I've discovered something new that like wasn't known before. Mine is that like I'm a very intuitive person.
Mm-hmm.
I see and I think very big picture, like how does it all come together? And so the way this theory is happening is that I just see how different ideas, different theories come together to create this, the solution to the hard problem of consciousness, possibly.
Yeah. Interesting. Also, just a reminder, anybody who's joining, if you want to follow on Twitch, it's LaserX83. Nico! LaserX83 on Twitch. If you want to come help the channel, be very helpful. So at least from what I saw in the outline, what? Which one? Bag? Yeah, you can grab it. Okay, I got you. Why is that asleep? So, yeah, this is what I saw in the outline. So to me, the hard problem of consciousness, really the central issue is the explanatory gap. Do you feel that you are addressing it in the paper, in the full paper?
I do.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think my paper is probably not gonna. My paper is not gonna be like the last nail in the coffin. My paper is more like
Moving
it's
the
sort of like
moving the envelope.
establishes a context within which to solve it ultimately.
Yeah, framework.
Yeah.
A potential framework within which a solution can live.
Yeah.
See
And
that?
it's entirely possible that it's gonna be someone else that finally goes like, "Oh, you're missing one thing, and I got it," and then someone else might solve it. We'll see.
Yeah. No, but I think so. First of all, I'm not gonna hold my breath in terms of somebody solving it, but I do I do I do exactly see. So like the thing that I kept on saying, right, was that what I'm always missing from people is that they don't seem to acknowledge that there needs to be an outline of the principle by which they offer to even approach the problem correctly, right? It's almost like the angle with which they're approaching the problem is just the wrong angle. Like there's such a thing, right? It's just like
Yeah.
it's not gonna dock. Like it's just not gonna dock. So they're like, no, just let me finish. It's like there's
Just let me go.
yeah, it's just like there's no need. There's no need. You're going in the wrong direction. Like you can go forever and you're not gonna end there. Like it's just you're going in the wrong direction. But I do appreciate the fact that you're what you just said, which is like you offering a framework that can potentially create an environment in which some answer can actually live. Like it makes sense for it to be there. That is, I think, can be very fruitful actually. Um, can you see the code on Living Things? Yes. Yes, absolutely, and it's the same code. And yes, if you guys want to like and share and subscribe, very helpful. The chats love that. You were my top channel on my YouTube year in review. Woohoo! Breezy, I'm honored. Try topological insulator gaps compression in dialects. I know what each one of these words means by themselves. I don't know what topological insulators gaps are. Topological insulator gaps. Do you know what that is? Compression. Topological insulator gaps compression in dialect. Anybody knows what this is?
Never heard of it.
What up, Nomi Cat? Sounds complex. Nico, how are you, brother? Oh, blessing us with his presence. Nico is blessing us with his presence. How are you, brother?
Hey, I see you're a bonsai too.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened. Basically, gave me a recap of the whole year, and then it's like, hey, would something approve? I'm like, sure, whatever, and then it gave me a plant. So there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it
that's
told me
another one of
that,
those things.
The what?
I sent like 7,000 memes or something.
Sounds
It's
about right.
embarrassing.
Sounds about right.
I couldn't get a recap because of privacy settings, apparently.
Oh, interesting. Ghost, are you? Is it okay if I share the outline at least that you sent me with Nico?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll.
And actually, I did link Nico to it, and the version that I linked, which is on my website, is slightly different. Like it's like a different, the next version of it, because I fixed a few things in there.
Oh, cool. Okay, it's slightly
Yeah,
different.
thank you for sharing that. I think I like this like idea of sharing like a synopsis or like a summary because it felt very lean and concise, which I really appreciated. Um, it kind of helped me like organize my thoughts and naturally I try to categorize things. So I was kind of like thinking of the category of this, right? Like what flavor of idealism is it? And it seems to have like some components of quantum consciousness as well, right? Have you thought of like the like hashtags a paper like this or a concept like this?
Yeah, and I'm trying my best not to like pigeonhole it. Like I have it posted on Phil Archive, which is a philosophy archive basically that people post papers to, and they have people like David Chalmers in there,
David Chalmers?
editor. Yeah,
No way.
the first person that I cited in my paper. Is there. Yeah,
That's so cool.
And so like when you post something before they publish it, you have to like choose a few of those like categories. And the ones that I picked was just, hard problem, explanatory gap. In terms of field, I went with philosophy of mind / consciousness. And I almost picked computational model of consciousness, but like I'm very torn on the exact classifications. Dan might know a little bit about this because I was actually just DMing him to try to explain how it's still unfolding in my mind. I'm still sort of like getting the picture, and so I'm really like trying not to like enforce structure on it and just allow it to emerge.
DMs to Chalmers or to me? Which one? I missed that part.
To you.
Oh
I
yeah.
was trying to explain the whole how I got that intuition about the computational nature of it.
Well, actually, yeah, I see it now. Do you mind if I read it?
Not at all.
Okay. January 1st. So first of all, good luck. I hope you will. And you said the computational aspect of this theory is not something that I arrived at after a lot of thought. It's more like an intuition that suddenly came to me about a few weeks ago as I was watching the quantum information panpsychism video. There was this build up to it. The idea started to take shape in the back of my mind the past couple of months since I joined Core. I've always been against the idea that consciousness is in any way mechanistic or computational, but I understand computation to be a purely classical thing. So this intuition goes against my intellectual disposition and naturally resisting it. It just sort of appeared in that space where I was trying to bridge physics and consciousness in the way it needed to, in the way it needed to, for me to instantly realize that it fits seamlessly into my model as soon as I upgrade my idea of computation to Deutsch's reality itself computer, a tool reality computes consciousness. This realization happens within the past couple of weeks, and even though I understand it enough to complete my paper, the full implications of what it means are still unfolding in the back of my mind, and it's making a mess of two of the chapters in my paper. I see. So first of all, like I said before, I do think that intuition is basically your brain consolidating very complex information into a feeling in the body. So it's probably, when it emerges strongly, it probably means that you have analyzed enough complex information for it to kind of arise as, it's almost like a emotional heat map that your body produces of much more complex information. And that heat map kind of tells you, oh, hot, hot, cold, cold. And you kind of feel your way towards like what's more likely, plausible. I think that saying the consciousness is computational is just saying that however it is that information flows obeys computational rules, but it doesn't have to be, like in my mind, it doesn't have to be limited by just the way that our computational rules operate. So just like you have quantum computing and regular computing kind of coexisting, even though they operate quite differently. The same goes for matter, right? I think there's even some space for postulating that maybe there's other forms of computation we're simply not familiar with. Even though, yeah, Turing's universality of computation kind of goes in the face of that, but it is possible that there is some form of almost like, well, I guess because I was trying to think of like another form of kind of like lateral computation at once, but that would be quantum computation. So yeah, so what is the strong resistance? Just in terms of that computation is postulated to be classical, is that the resistance?
just the realm of computing, there's like certain ways we think about it, which is totally like because of our limited perspective based on the computing that we've done ourselves. And so that is what informs how we think about computing. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
like my resistance was completely coming from that. And this is even though I have read David Dershow's amazing books. And so like the challenge is to integrate these ideas that I've already had in the back of my mind for like a long time. And so suddenly to just like upgrade it and have a new perspective of computation and immediately apply it to my thesis.
Doesn't by the way, just as a side note, doesn't it feel like when you're listening or reading the beginning of Infinity, it's almost like somebody came from the future and it's just telling you how things are? Like literally, that's the
He's like the guy sitting at the end of the Infinity Rainbow.
yeah. And you just ask,
from here. Let me tell you how it is.
let me tell you how it actually is. Yeah. This literally feels like that. It's crazy. One of the strongest, well, definitely not the strongest, but one of these kind of like super. You know how Ravi Khan keeps saying that it uploaded a new software on his brain. So in many ways, it did for me too. And in one of the ways, for sure, is that it solidified this. It made it super clear to me that any postulation of like we attribute so much almost superpower level cognitive abilities to people in history in a way that just like it just doesn't make any sense. Like it's like people postulate something like they did this because they already saw in advance that things would go wrong this way, so therefore they wanted to hedge their losses, and they kind of put like a safety mechanism there, when in reality, if you really think about it, you can't have an insight until you had the insight. And because it's computationally reducible, the only way for you to really kind of see what can go wrong beyond a certain level of complexity is just to kind of see what happens. And therefore it kind of nullified this idea in my head that it's just that most of the time it's not that people did something because they thought of something in advance, but because it was just a fluke, and then something else happened and they're like, oh, that didn't work, so now they have to kind of like overcome that problem. So like it just kind of nullified this like supernatural thinking for me in terms of like what we imagine people are capable of or could be capable of in the past. Does that make sense? Golden crystals. Sounds like it didn't. Was watching one of your podcasts. There's quite a few comments. Welcome to all the new people. And if you guys want to follow on Twitch, it's LaserX83. Thank you, everybody who are joining on Twitch. Good question, Van Dweller, saying, was this reality with all our physics and specifics created purposefully, or just one of an infinite combination of possible realities? It's a great question. I think it's the latter. I think it's just one of infinite combination of possible realities. But you only have... Yeah, go ahead.
My answer for this one is that what I call the unified substrate is all of the potential, like the infinite potential of reality. And so what you call our universe is just one, well, I think you just said this, is one of an infinite number of possible universes. And all of that, I want to call it like potential information, is all contained in the substrate.
Yeah. But I have to say that even because this is essentially the anthropic principle. And I think the anthropic principle might as well be true, because really it's the most likely thing. And yet there's something very unsatisfying about it. And to anybody who doesn't know, anthropic principle just means if you have an infinite possibility space of some sort, then eventually all the possible ways in which things can arrange themselves will arrange themselves that way. And you just happen to find yourself in the one you're in. So then from the perspective of where you are, asking, well, what are the chances that it would happen this way? Well, how does it go? The the probability is low, but the chance is 100% because it happened. So basically, from the perspective of what you already are, that's the only state from which you can ask the question, and therefore that's the anthropic principle. Basically, it's like you happen to find yourself here. You ask the question from this perspective, so that's the thing that it is, right? But
Yeah.
and but
Like, oh, sorry to
y-
cut you off.
no, you it's fine, and feel free to cut me off too. Just the final thing I would say is that even there for me, because ultimately there's something satisfying about solving these little puzzles, right? Because ultimately it works, right? Like we're not solving it for some kind of a to make some like it already works. Like we're just kind of utilizing the thing that is already working, but there is something satisfying about still thinking about, okay, so from that infinite possibility space, to say that randomly things would just happen exactly forever, and something will arise a certain number of times. I still like the challenge of thinking, okay, but what specifically in this region, in this local neighborhood, what specifically made it coalesce into this? Like, what is it? Because that's really the question, right? It's not so much like, yeah, ultimately maybe it's a. And by the way, this is a really interesting argument that Deutsch makes in the beginning of Infinity about this anthropic principle, which is he says, and it's a hard argument to follow if you just kind of say it with a few words instead of reading the whole chapter. But essentially, the principle of mediocrity kind of creates a weird wedge here, which is that you could say that if it is from this infinite space, probabilistic space, you would expect our universe to be somewhere within the cloud of probability, but not right on the edge. And it seems that we're right on the edge of probability. So it's not like we're just like somewhere in the most common area of the probability of the constants of nature being what they are. It's that we're just at the like on the cusp, like on the knife's edge. Some it seems. So there's a few possibilities. I'm not sure that Deutsch addresses that particular possibility that I want to say, but it's just that there's another possibility here, which is that we're actually not on a knife's edge. It's okay. So where it's easier to see is that how they say a lot of physicists like to repeat that we seem to be finding ourselves in this weird situation where we're exactly in the middle, exactly in the bullseye, exactly in the middle between the largest scale possible to see to the smallest scale possible to see. So if you compare the scales between Planck scale to the observable universe, we're right in the middle in terms of a scale. Now, to me, it's so suspicious. Like, why would we be smack in the middle, right? To me, it seems like that's a horizon. That's some kind of a horizon of emergence that consciousness itself might have, which is like it cannot see beyond this level of scale and beyond this level of scale. But what's interesting is that I think understanding what is this horizon of, because it's not just visual, it's also in terms of mathematics, even. So it seems that there's even a conceptual horizon. And I think that whatever that is can tell us something about the nature of what we are. Because then the mechanism of why the horizon is exactly that it would have some hints as to what kind of thing we are. Would you agree with that?
I think I would agree with some of it,
Okay.
but a different way to look at it, which is what seems to make the most sense to me, is that basically the horizon is relative to an observer.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah.
But we're the observer collectively. But we're the observer collectively because we are this kind of a thing. You see what I'm saying? So like in science we agree that these scales, if to anybody who understand the mathematics and all that stuff, they all agree that yes, we seem to be smack in the middle, which is really weird. Like what are the chances of that? Like we're not like 60% here, 40% there. We're exactly in the middle. That's a very weird coincidence. To me, it's just like it's almost like saying, "Oh, what a weird coincidence! I see the exact same distance on a flat plane to the right and to the left. What are the chances of that?" To me, it sounds like a very similar problem. That's why that's what my intuition tells me. I'm not sure that what you said is different than what I said. I just think that so like we are a kind of thing, and when the kind of thing that we are looks through the models and tools that we've developed, we will reliably see the same distance. Like if we build the same telescope and we have the same eyes, we would see the same distance. That's what I'm saying. Does that track?
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to find out what that is actually, like specifically. So because it's not just computation. So this is another like there's something about how logic works and what can or cannot follow. So this is something that I have to admit that is I never found a way to even potentially probe, and maybe it's unprobable. But that it's the fact that it's very difficult to imagine which one is more likely. Is it the case that there might be some such universal rules that the logic of those rules is so pure that it doesn't really matter what world you're going to create, these rules will always be there? Which you would imagine to be something like this, because if you are a civilization that simulates infinite realities, there has to be some bedrock, some kind of like fundamental rules that never change, no matter the types of worlds or the number of dimensions. Or not. There has to be some logical rule that cannot break under no circumstances, almost like the thing that holds the whole structure. Or is it the case that a lot of the stuff that we kind of take the most for granted, that is just like, it's just, self-evident, is it just coded into us to be self-evident? Is that still parochial though? Like that to me is always such a headache, because like how could you ever know?
This is crazy, but like it seemed to me that like both of those things can be true.
Only if it happens to coincide with that universal rule. So what I'm saying is that you can have a situation where you have this fundamental, some kind of a, maybe it's not even a law. It's almost like, does the triangle really on a flat plane really has to have 180 degrees? Yeah. Is this ordained? No. Is it a law? No. It's just the result of what a triangle is, right? So is there such a thing for reality itself? Is there a thing to reality that is equivalent to 180 degrees in a triangle? Which is like, is there a quality to reality that is not a law, is just it's just such an innate property of what reality is, that thing is just that thing. It cannot be anything else because of what reality is, because of what that is, right? So then
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So like you can have parochial perceptions that kind of match that, sometimes by coincidence or sometimes because they run on a kind of similar angle of perception of it. But what I'm saying is I can totally imagine, yes, having, and maybe that's what you meant, having that fundamental, because obviously there will be something like that, right? Even if nobody will ever know it, because for anything there has to be thing that is innate to it, and because reality is a something versus a nothing, it would also have that kind of a thing. And in addition to that, you can also imagine, like, if I'm programming my characters in the game to just believe that 3 + 2 is 5, it's a really interesting question for me from a philosophical perspective. Can you code them to know that so self-evidently that no matter how much they're going to try and no matter what mathematical tools they're going to develop, they will never be able to crack beneath that. Like, is this a thing that I can put between them and ultimate reality? Or is that ultimate thing has such a quality that if you're part of reality, which no matter who simulated what, what world, if you crack through the wall of that world, you should be able to see the actual thing. And then the illusion of what I coded into you will disappear. That's like a real question for me. I don't, because I think it holds a lot of important understanding.
Yeah, and actually, what this is making me think about is I'm pretty sure you know about this because in like Eastern traditions and Eastern philosophy, there's something called thusness, which thusness is the indescribable nature, the fundamental nature of all things. So, like people who become enlightened, they see the vastness of all things of themselves, and then they realize that nature is fundamentally everything.
Yeah, but and I know what you're talking about because I've had kind of like, I'm not saying I've achieved enlightenment, but I've had meditative states in which I was in the face of these kinds of truths where, like, that what you're experiencing right now is ultimately the truth, but there's nothing that you can say because the second you start to even formulate it in your own mind, it just kind of evaporates like smoke because it's not grabbable by symbols. It's just what it is. So I know what you're talking about, but and yet the structure somehow arises. And
That's like one of the mysteries that I'm tinkering with, like how to bring language and maybe mathematically, resonant structure to it.
Drasko, how are you, brother? Come join us. Yeah, and I'm always with a kind of like a back and forth with it because whenever I hear, on the one hand, Buddha's insights, depending on my mood, obviously, but sometimes I'm in the mood of like, wow, like how could anyone in the history like understand everything that was possible to understand, and he just like he cracked it, right? And in other moods, the same words but with a different attitude, which is like, come on, how could anybody understand everything there is to understand? You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, it's like, of course he had to be wrong about something, right? He couldn't have had the complete picture because even the universe doesn't have it. So then it's really kind of like this infinite kind of like back and forth between those two, which I think, and this is it's not like, it's not that I think that it's in me that way. I think it's in everybody that way. Uh, it is the infinite, is it or is it not, that happens in reality itself. It's this indecisiveness of reality itself, which is like, wait, come on, okay, so are we taking the more kind of like, but still there's content, so why is that? And the other one, which is like, the true insight is you should just drop this problem. Just don't think about it. Just enjoy whatever comes in the next moment. And those two modalities, it's almost like they're not competing, but they are the opposite of one another. Because by definition, if you're trying to analyze, by definition, you're not letting it go because you are trying to grab it. So then, but then the grabbing is still happening. So it's almost like it does feel a little bit like a cop out to say, okay, so here's the way to illustrate this. The easiest thing to be in any argument is the person who just kind of saying nothing, and at the end is like, whatever conclusion everybody reached, they can always say, yeah, see, we're here. Like, they never had to put any work and yet they win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just, no matter what, they win. And on the one hand, you can say that's wisdom. On the other hand, we can say, you didn't really play. So, you know what I mean? I don't think you should get a reward because you didn't play. Like, you just kind of sat there, right? And it almost feels like a little unfair. But it's, yeah, so I can't, it depends on my day, depends on my mood. That's like a real thing that hits me so many different ways, and, and I can never land on the right one, or the one that I feel like is really like both seem to me like make sense. To say no, come on, like content is still important and it's still happening for some reason, but also at the same time you also have to be able to just let go of it. And maybe there is some combination of the two attitudes that works. Like enjoy the content, but don't get attached to it. But that's a very difficult thing to do because the more the more enjoyment or more suffering there is, the stronger the push and the pull that happen doing because of it. It's the what?
The attachment programming is kind of coded into our, adaptive systems.
Yeah, yeah. It's just that it seems like that I had this conversation actually during well, not during the actual Vipassana retreat, but at the end when you get to talk to people. And one of the retreats, I remember we were talking about it, and one of the things that kept coming back was like I can totally see how, from the perspective of when the Buddha lived, that thinking that it's all suffering, like all it, because here's Buddha's, just like you have the golden rule, which is the full Jesus's teaching in one phrase, which is love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That's the golden rule. So if you're gonna know nothing else but that's like it's good enough. Like you would get somewhere, right? So the Buddha's one liner is all attachment is suffering, and very radically. Well, no, that is what it is. That's when he was asked if you can explain all your teaching in one phrase, which usually the Buddha wouldn't answer questions of this kind. Actually, there he did answer. He said, "All attachment is suffering, all of it." Because the point is that it's just depending on how long you're playing the game. So like if you think you're enjoying this now, just let it go, and then you'll see you'll get attached to it, and the second it decays, just like everything else, you will get sad. That's suffering. There's no escaping this. So as long as you're attached, you will suffer eventually. And because the game is infinite, you will infinitely suffer by definition. So you have to achieve nirvana, step out of the house. So, but the insight that kept coming back, holding this in view, and in that retreat was, I can totally see how from the perspective of 1,500 years ago, or how long ago did he live? I think 1,500 years ago, right? That statement made sense because it was suffering galore. I don't know I probably have a lot of listeners who believe that it used to just be paradise until modern man ruined it. I have news for you. That's not true at all. But back then it was like just suffering galore, right? So then from that perspective, it makes sense to think of like, just like, hey man, I'm just let go of all of this. And it's almost like in the modern world, it's not like it's always just a breeze, but there's a lot of moments in my life that I absolutely love. Like I just like, wow, I would absolutely live this again and again and again, you know? So because of that, it's kind of hard for me to know if he just made sense for his time, or is it actually the case that he made sense forever? Like, till the end of time.
This is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Buddha's teachings are very contextual. Like the way he presented it depended on his audience at the time. Like, Buddha had many audiences. Like he'd be called to some kingdom to give a teaching to the royalty, or like the educated elite, or like the regular villagers. And like he would adapt his teaching to the occasion and to who exactly he was speaking to. And in one of the recorded the sutras, the Dhamma Sutra, which contains what is supposedly the highest of Buddha's teachings, he directly says, don't walk away from this with the idea that the Buddha has taught spiritual truths, because such a thing is not possible. Like the nature of these fixed views, these teachings that I'm giving you, is that they are provisional not for you to cling to, because that's not what's going to get you enlightenment. The point of his teachings is to sort of like be a facilitator for
Yep.
you to do that thing that needs to happen within yourself.
The practice.
Yeah.
The practice is the only way. Yeah. But I just mean, even in that regard, just even in that one liner, which is all attachment is suffering. That's a pretty radical statement. But I am of the inclination that is correct. So, by the way, where did you get this from? This little piece of information you just shared?
I call it a analytical conclusion just based on I've read a lot. I've read, the sutras, but mostly my point of contact with this stuff is Zen texts from ancient China.
See, that's the problem. Yeah, because then my claim would be, and I'm not a scholar by no stretch of the imagination. It sounds like you read a lot more than I have, but with the little that I did read, what I'm noticing in Zen in particular is that there is this weird, almost militant detachment from what I think the Buddha really was talking about. There's almost like there's a preference that is written into it. The what?
It's rebellious.
Rebellious, but also I use the word militant on purpose. There's a seriousness to it that I'm not so sure the Buddha was exhibiting with his attitude and teachings.
It's definitely, that doesn't come from Buddha.
Yeah,
that's a manifestation of the time and place where Zen came up.
Yeah, and there's a reason why till this day, maybe not that hard, but they still do it as part of the tradition. Is that you get a little hit with a stick by in certain temples, like if you don't sit straight or things like this, you can be like in the old days, and that's kind of the idea is that it pulls you back into the present moment, but there's a certain. It's militant. It's literally like you're kind of like in basic training or something. But the reason I'm saying it is because my impression from whenever I read what I forget the name of that book. I should probably remember this. There's not a lot of places where you can find like what is claimed to be Buddha's direct words. But from what I have absorbed from that, it seems, and I've said this on the show before, my impression is that essentially the Buddha, if you really look at really kind of like his actual way, was never, like you said, you just said it, like he would never like claim anything or teach anything about, he never really said anything of real concreteness about the metaphysical world at all. Like he wasn't talking about spiritual realms or any of that stuff. That all came way later when people told stories about him. But really, what he would do is would just teach you how to meditate. Like he would, or tell you he would teach with stories, like with an allegory. Like he would give you these like interesting things to like. He would illustrate it with a story. But that's as far as he would go in terms of, quote unquote truth claims. He would never. Content was not his product. Let's just put it that way. It's more like, if you came to the Buddha, the most likely thing you would hear is, sit down, pay attention to your breath. Does that kind of like the impression you're also getting, or would you disagree with some of this?
Yeah, that's more or less true.
Yeah, and
like he's not dogmatic. He's not making assertions that like this is the way it is, but it's more like, if you allow me to use an analogy, let me present it to you like this, kind of. Does that make sense?
Oh, I thought you were about to give us an analogy. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
The kind of structure
of
his teachings.
Yeah, it basically is the one thing that he innovated, because he wasn't the only Buddha, but his innovation is who we consider to be the Buddha, is just the fact that you are your own master. Like there's nothing you can do until you. One story that Goenka tells, which I don't know how far the story goes, but maybe it is like an old Buddhist story. But basically, it's one of these allegories, which is, somebody comes to the doctor, and they're sick, and the doctor prescribes medicine, and they go back home, and they start telling everybody about uh how amazing their doctor is. It's like, I have the best doctor. You don't understand. This is the best doctor. He would cure anyone. This doctor is the best doctor. And they get up every morning, and they read poetry to the picture of the doctor, and they're like, they do all this stuff. And I have the best doctor. I have the best doctor. And but but they don't take the medicine. And then the second layer is like, they talk about the medicine, like people talk about meditation, but they don't take the medicine. They're like, oh, this is the best medicine. I have the best doctor, and he gave me the best medicine. And then people keep doing this, but they don't take the medicine. And the only way to heal is to take the medicine, and the medicine is pay attention, sit down, pay attention. And there's a way to do this, and that's the only way you will ever get anywhere, which is like, you have to move through this very laborious process of actually doing the work, like sitting down, paying attention, which is so difficult to do. And this is a point that I once went to a Harris lecture when he just wrote Waking Up. And this is a point that he made in the talk, which was interesting. He said some people would, because I asked him a question about intellectual honesty. I wanted to see if he sees a connection between intellectual honesty and people who gravitate towards meditative states. He said that it's interesting because it seems that you have kind of divide in the types of people. So there's some people that if you show them that they couldn't focus on their breath for more than 10 seconds, even if their life depended on it, like actually, like for real, like if there would be like a device that measures whether you were actually paying attention, and if you weren't, then it's going to trigger a gun and shoot you in the head. Like some people wouldn't be able to still do it. Like they wouldn't be able to. And some people would look at that situation, even though we think we're in control, but very easily it can be shown to you that you're completely out of control. Like you have zero control over your thoughts, zero control over your attention, like very little, no more than 5 seconds. It's crazy how people go to meditate, to retreats, and then they're like, oh my God, I can meditate easily for like 2 minutes. I can just pay attention. They don't even realize they lose their focus after like less than 3 seconds. They just don't realize it. That's how lost in thought they are. But there's some people that if you show them this, they would get interested. They'd be like, this is so interesting. I never noticed that. And other people who just don't, like you show them the same thing and they're just like, okay, so what? Like they don't understand that there's something there that is very profound. That like, oh my God, I actually don't have this control I thought I had, because that well goes on forever. And I never thought about that some people might have this like complete lack of interest. It's not so much that they're missing the information. They see it, they just don't find it interesting, or they don't understand why it's interesting to anyone.
It doesn't fit into whatever particular framework that they're operating within. And so it doesn't seem like what's the word here, like applicable insight that they can use to meet whatever goals or desires they have.
Oh, interesting. So you think it has something to do with just like on a pragmatic level? Like they don't feel like there's any application, so they just don't care?
I wouldn't say it's like a decision that they make consciously, but like this is, I guess, a psychological perspective, especially like I'm very much into evolutionary psychology, like looking at how, evolutionary pressures shaped some of our subconscious behavior, like the way we respond to situations, for instance. So my inclination is to think that, like, because it's so prevalent that people do this, it seems that like it would have some kind of adaptive advantage for people to be able to just have this kind of door where they're like, you can present them with a concrete fact, and they can even maybe understand what you're saying, but it doesn't fit into their framework. Their framework is designed to meet either in response to very specific conditions, like challenges in their life that they're responding to, or upbringing, or like they have some kind of goal that is at a certain level of priority that, rearranging their framework to incorporate a new fact isn't that high up.
Interesting. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, and also I see your comments, guys here. Yeah, his teaching was definitely somatic. I agree. German by numbers. Something about people lying to us. Yeah, I think you're in the wrong channel, brother. Conspiracy theories is not this channel. But also, and then Wave saying, breath takes the attention back into the body. Some people are too numb to be their body now. I'm actually going to challenge this. And I don't know, you might disagree with me too, Ghost, but I actually think that thoughts are somatic. I don't think anything in your perceptual space is not somatic. I think it's actually a very common confusion, but I think that it's one and the same. I don't think there's a separation between an intellectual thought that you had and like a mental, what we call a mental event, and what we call a physical event. It's just that what you can say is that your attention can be arranged and positioned in such a way that makes you miss one or the other. Or like there's emphasis on one or the other, but ultimately they're one and the same. And actually, that's, at least in Vipassana, that's the big emphasis, which is like every mental event, or what we call mental event, is also a physical event. So if you notice only the one that is the mental and then you ignore it, the physical is still instantiated in your body and it doesn't really go away, and you have to actually pay attention to it so it expresses itself in full and it kind of goes away. But I really don't think that there's a difference. What's your intuition there?
I 100% agree that like every mental event is accompanied by some somatic aspect.
Well, I think they're one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they're different. So I think it's just your being processing information, and whatever that means, right? Ultimately, but your attention on it gives it kind of like these flavors of what you kind of see as more, I guess, ornamented or detailed. Let's say detailed. That's what we call. It's almost like the detailed somatic is what we call thought, and the gross, I don't even know how to pronounce that correctly, somatic would be more like what we experience in the body. But it's essentially it's a more blunt thought. You can think of that as like a thought of your body, like it's or the other way around. The thought is like it's like a feeling of what you in that space where you can project more details on, but it's just an excitation of the field ultimately, and they're not separate. Like they're one thing, and they're not even two expressions of the same thing. They are the same thing, and I can tell you this because that's how I'm very consciously processing emotion. I know that, and for a long time I thought there was just something wrong with me, because people said, "No, what do you mean? Like, you don't?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, but I feel like I can say that I feel this thought. Like I don't know how to." They're like, "You mean you have feelings when that thought is present?" I'm like, "No, I feel the thought itself." And seriously, for the longest time, I thought it was just like me, something wrong with me. And then I realized, oh no, there's just they don't realize they do it too. Because, for example, people would say things like, this is the very kind of like brainy types, right? They would say, "Oh, I don't care. I just care about the facts." But notice what that person just said. I don't care. The only thing that can ever possibly make you care is a feeling. Nothing else. Like you can't possibly move or do anything unless there's a feeling that drives you to do so. So when the scientist like really says like, no, I just care about the facts, they have a framework in which they feel safe. There's a feeling in the body of harmony or safety or whatever it is that we feel like of like, oh, equilibrium, safe, that is attached to knowing how things work, or like these arrangements of understandings. But they're all emotional. It's an entire emotional tapestry that is actually way more, it's much finer. There's the brush strokes are way finer. Like they're very, very detailed. What up, Punkish? By the way, I don't know if you saw, but I read your question to Andres, and he said that. Oh, I think we spoke about it because I texted you as well. Wild Rat, Blessed Augie, let's dig in. Your brothers shares your vibes. Trying to focus on golden rule, gratefulness, humility. Keep chug-a-lugging. Let's go, baby. Maverick Stars wanted me to check his previous comments. Hold on, let me see. Was this reality with all of our physics? What Ghost? Can I ask you a really personal question?
Sure.
How old are you?
I am 37.
37. Okay, so you have life. You have some wisdom under your wings.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird how it happened because I basically dropped out of college in my early 20s, not like by choice, but by circumstance, and just kind of like went into the deep end of spiritual practice. And that was most of my 20s. And then now in my early 30s, I came back to finish college.
That's incredible, man. You know, my dream one day, because I actually find it very cathartic to just study. Like I really like structured study. It's something that actually it's just very like it feels warm and fuzzy to me. In the world that we live in, it's a complete waste of time because you can learn way faster just by yourself. But it's just there's something about it. You just gotta just gotta show up for this class and just sit there and make notes and submit paper, homework. It sounds fun. One day when
if it's like a subject that you really like.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But yeah, I maybe one day when I'm way in the field, I'm just kind of like bored. I'm just gonna go and study something I know nothing about. I'm just this is gonna be a lot of fun. Was watching one of your podcasts and I had never heard one point which you mentioned in that podcast, so I had one question. Danny, I love that you start my name there. Will you make a video on the event that happened in which you were shown? Yeah, I should do that, and I know I keep saying it. The thing is that that's a very big video. Like that would be it's gonna be heavy lifting. The truth is that I do quite a bit during the day, and when I come to the content creation at this point, like as you can see, even releasing these interviews is already kind of like I'm not putting a lot of them out there. There's going to be a lot more, I promise. But currently, because we're working on so many different things, it's just attention. I know it's all excuses because you can always do more. But hey, with a newborn and with all the stuff that I kind of have to pay attention to, my capacity is basically this. And after this, I'm going to become disgruntled and unhappy. So I don't want to do that. So when I find that window to do like, because what you're talking about, that the thing that I saw the full structure, that's a monster of a video. If I am to do a video like that, and which is going to be like on a high level, it's a monster video. That's the truth. So I'm, I think that what's going to have to happen is that I will simply hire a team when I have a little bit more time, and I'll have I'll just write the material and I'll just have this produced because it's it's like a 2 week of nonstop work, like nonstop. It's a big video. Hold on. I just need a glass of water. And maybe one more word on that. The reason is because I am not happy with just kind of reporting, with just saying, hey, here's what I saw. Well, first of all, to me, that's boring, even if people find it interesting. I cannot imagine something more boring at this point than another trip report. I just don't want to put out a fancy trip report. So there has to be a lesson there. There has to be my actual emotional impact from this and what I think it actually means. Like if somebody would, catch me right now, is like, all right, Danny, this is the moment of truth. Nowhere to go. You have to tell us, what do you think this really means? Like really, really, like your strongest impression. What does that all really mean? That would have to be in that video. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. And that's a big undertaking. Getting into your stuff and love the content. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you're still around, because this was a while ago. This was like an hour ago, this comment. Wow, I'm so behind. Wonder if there are numbers we aren't aware of. So there's digits past 9 before. Wait, what? Could it still? Let me guess. Random YouTuber. I don't know if you guys are still around, because I know these comments are like from like an hour ago. So apologies. So have you figured out if we are in a computer simulation, or, for better lack of wording, a cosmic simulation? I don't know what the difference would be. Computationally rendered environment. Could it still be chaotic, but we as humans want it to be some kind of sync? I think we need to get into the details of what you mean by these. And if you want to come on Discord, if you're still around, feel free to do so. I wonder if there are numbers we aren't aware of. 2, there are digits past 9 before they repeat. So numbers we use, base 10, is just one type of notation. Mathematics is not, or arithmetic is not limited to the base 10. You can do base whatever you want. There's hexadecimal. Hexadecimal is all kinds of bases you can use depending on what you're trying to do. And in fact, set theory is basically that. You're basically kind of reformulating whatever it is that you want. And you can create any kind of mathematics that you want, basically. Those are just notations. But the laws have to be self-consistent. So if you're going to create a new base, now everything else changes. So you have to take that into account, basically. That's why, it's almost like, think of the bases as the type of map you're going to be playing on. Whoa. Talking with my mom, and she's Indian. So she was thinking, could it be Shakti, which I mentioned in Indian ancient texts? No idea. No idea. Do other laser colors do anything different? It seems that there's some variations, but not too much. And also not strong enough of an evidence. It seems to be pretty much the same at this point, at least. All right. Well, I think we'll adjourn for today. It's getting pretty late. It's 2 a.m. for me. Appreciate you guys. Just one quick reminder to anybody who's still interested. We have a few more spots. If you guys are interested in the retreat in February, let me know. You can email me to dangoprox@gmail.com and we can talk about the details. A few more spots open. So retreat is going to be happening in February 28th. So you let me know if anybody's interested. Again, just reach out and let me know. dangoprox@gmail.com. dangoprox@gmail.com, just for this particular topic. Everything else has to be lasersimulationx@gmail.com, which is listed on YouTube. If you guys want to follow me across all other platforms, it'll be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It'll be Goller Danny on X. It'll be LaserX83 on Twitch and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube. You can also check out my new show on Spotify, 0 to 1 with Danny Goller, from Earthbound Minds to Cosmic Citizens, 0 to 1 with Danny Goller, which deals with the future of humanity. Come join the membership program on YouTube, by the way, on Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts. We gain early access to all my content. You gain access to my weekly lives for members only. That happens once a week, and we kind of dive much deeper into all kinds of topics. If you sign up for the second tier upwards, make sure you email me to the email listed there, which is lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite for a monthly Zoom call. One is coming up this week. That's always a lot of fun. What else? If you guys want to still donate for the film, you can do so by finding the trailer for the movie. You can find it in the description of this live right now, link number 2, or just search for The Discovery on Dango Thoughts, the YouTube channel. And in the description of that trailer, you will find the GoFundMe page. If you donate over $1,000, you will automatically be added to the list of people who would see the movie as a world premiere with us, with Q&A. It's going to be amazing. If not, you'll see the film, we promise. And what am I forgetting? Hold on. I know I'm forgetting something. No. Oh, yeah. If you want to grab some merch, I made a list because there's so many announcements. If you want to grab some merch from a YouTube channel, it will help the channel tremendously. We have the Core, COR, Code of Reality design, and also the Human First design, which I personally really love. Human First denotes the attitude that we should always treat each other as human first before any political affiliation, religious beliefs, or conviction you might have about the world. That's what Human First is about. I want to thank our guest, Ghost. Thank you so much, brother. I really, really appreciate you. And I can't wait to expand more on your paper and read it when it actually comes out. I am actually very excited about it. So thank you for sharing and being here. And thank you, incredible moderator, Guru, who's always here. Bro, you're the man. How could I forget? Come join our Discord of like-minded people sharing these ideas. You can find the link on YouTube or the link tree in the description on TikTok. And if you can't use the link for some reason, some people expressed some problems with it. So just search for COR or Code of Reality on Discord, and you should be able to find us. What else? That's it. I want to thank you, the audience, for if you're new, if you're an old listener, I really appreciate you. Without you, this channel is really nothing. So I appreciate you coming, enjoying, asking questions, debating. I appreciate you. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and love. Ciao. Have a good night.